you're excused.
Hello, this is Larry Chambers and Rebecca Spencer.
Hi.
And Christin Chambers, my daughter.
Hello.
And this is the Creatively Unworthy Dog or Podcast. And it's what it's really about. It's about, I'm like the old guy and you guys are the young guys. And so like the old guy giving advice to the youth about helping other young people that suffer or have dyslexia and ADHD and ADD, or in a combination of both. Usually it's a combination of both, and how we, a lot of it's how I've been able to cope. And I've had the advantage that you haven't. I've had like 30 years of a great therapist by the name of John Fox, and he really helped me find out, what I had, this dyslexia thing and what it meant. And when I look back on my education and how it affected me, the rest of my life, and how, here's the point of this whole thing. You still have to graduate from school. You still have to get a degree. You still have to get degrees. You have to get certifications. You have to get all these different things. But what's missing for most young people is time to develop your unique abilities. And that's what we're doing. This is to give you tools to help you develop your unique abilities, and just stories about how people have used, have broken into the mainstream, even though they can't spell. I'm a writer that can't spell. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. But it makes perfect sense, because somebody who's creative is going to be the one that can come up with all these stories. Here's the other part of this, and to bring Christin into it so she understands it. This is also about the shame of, like when we say the creatively unworthy, we all feel that we're unworthy, and we're made to feel we're unworthy. And that feeling is what I call shame, is what we call shame. And how shame is a master emotion that can literally paralyze you or cause you to be, to go into a dumb state. And so how do you stay out of those kinds of states? We talk about that. And today, what we wanted to talk about was boundaries. So, and you guys are
Huge.
jump in anytime you want and ask questions about what does that mean? What do boundaries mean? And why are they important?
Well, if I may, just anyone that's creative, that has any sort of creativity in their brain or body, is gonna have to learn how to set boundaries with the people that want them to not think outside the box, to follow the rules and follow the list and do the things we're taught to do. They're going to be constantly up against the people that follow the norm, and setting boundaries with, and I say those people, they're our friends and some of our family members and our teachers and stuff, and we don't want to hurt their feelings, but setting verbal boundaries is not something I'm very good at. I can draw you a picture or build you a whatever you need, but if I have to confront someone that's draining my energy by telling me, what I'm doing is a waste of time or doesn't make any sense, it's going to be hard for me. So I've had to really work on that a lot, because I love all the people in my life. I love them, and I believe that they're in my life for a reason, and if I can help, I will. So the way I started setting boundaries is, unfortunately, I've had to fib a bunch and be like, I'm not feeling good today. Sorry, I can't talk to you for 2 hours and console you because right after you, I got what's her name, Sally, calling me to do the same thing, and then at 8, I've got another person. So I guess what I'm saying is also creative people are good problem solvers, and so other people use them a lot
Perfect. Mm-hmm.
to help them solve their problem.
Yes.
Which leaves the creative person very little time to create.
That's perfect, Christin.
Yeah,
when
100% I can relate to that.
Right? Like when I am talking or therapying, I don't know what the word is, helping someone through their emotional journey, like I go 100% in their whole world. I'm like trying to have, put myself in their shoes. So that just takes a ton of energy. And I don't think most people do that to begin with. So if you add the ability to counsel and you have a need to create, it's just good. It's finding that balance without being rude to your family and friends, but standing up for your own self and saying, my time is valuable. So I need to take baby steps to set these little tiny boundaries. And it can take some time with certain people. They don't get the hint. They can't conceive of what you're talking about because, well, you just sat around and thought about what your next book's going to be or your next drawing's going to be. How is that draining?
Yeah.
You'll get accused of doing nothing all day.
Yes, it's
you
hard.
You have so much time to relax. You're so lazy. You do blah, 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 blah.
That's the other thing. They wonder why I need so much time to relax. It's because I spend most of my time putting out other people's emotional fires or helping them problem solve their whatevers. So by the time I can actually create, it's like 2 a.m. and everyone's asleep. And that's my favorite time of day because nobody wants anything from me. And I can finally let myself tell me what it wants instead of, having to guess what everyone else needs. And that's a whole nother thing. Like being creative and an artist is one thing, but like also caring while you're creative and an artist. So I guess I'm mixing two things, but you can't really separate them.
They're kind of the same thing though. I mean, like, I feel like creativity goes to like all aspects of your life. Like you're not just creative while you're drawing, you're creative while you're in your relationship with somebody. Like you're creative in the way like you talk to them and try to communicate to them and understand them and stuff. Like that is 100% relatable. Like I feel like that's a really good way to represent creative people in a different way than I think people normally think of creativity.
Yeah, normally they're like, oh, this lazy guy, he's only done like 5 paintings in the last 2 months. Like, what is his deal? Like, it's just, it's not the same as going and working at a grocery store. You don't take that work home with you. You leave the fruit and vegetables there, and then you go home. But if you're an artist, it's like there's no excuse. So you're also shaming yourself because I should be creating right now.
Yeah.
If I'm awake, I'm wasting time.
So
100%. It's also setting boundaries with yourself, which is really hard to do because that shame that, Dad, you're talking about, that comes from everywhere, yourself and others sometimes, and just the invisible voices we're brought up with.
Yeah, there's another part of this too, and I just saw this on one of my favorite sitcoms, 30 Rock, and Liz Lemon had some sexual hang-ups with her boyfriend who was this pilot or something, and of course she doesn't ever want to go to a therapist, so she talked to the page, the guy that plays the page, and so she tells her all of her problems. She's telling him her problems, and he's left with this one word, which she said Harold, and Harold was his pig that died, and so then he went into this emotional distress, and then Jack Donaghy came and said, "Don't worry, I'll mind trap it," his bullshit. So he listens to the page tell him all of his negative stuff, and then Jack Donaghy leaves and he's all depressed and everything. And so that's the danger. That's the danger of being a therapist. I don't do what Christin does because I've learned I just learned not, I just don't, I try to avoid giving people, that kind of advice. When somebody starts talking too much about it, I hand them John Fox's card, who's a trained therapist. And I tell 'em, I'm not an expert in this here. And I found that's a boundary that I learned to set that takes me out of getting trapped in an emotional dump. And people will do, if you're listening to them, they can dump a whole bunch of emotions. And the very fact that you're a creative person, you're sensitive, you think from the heart and in the head. So Christin has to be very careful. And I've always known that, and I'm careful. And even John Fox, my hero therapist, has told me, don't go dropping a bunch of stuff on Christin. In other words, don't talk about your last relationship, or it's not, don't don't put one more thing on her, because he knows you. So that's one of the aspects of being a creative person, is what Christin goes through, because she's good at solving these problems. So she's a problem solver. The part about the boundaries that both her and I can relate to, is I've learned to do is I have to write out my schedule for the day, and that's my boundary, and then hold myself to it. If I don't, I will wander. I will be finding pictures of Laos and trying to map them up with something I took in, Cambodia. And then I'll, oh my gosh, there's a thing on television that was about, the Floyd trial. And then I'll watch that.
I feel like that's very ADD too, where you're just
popping
kind of
around.
creatively all over the place, and I could do this and this and this and this today.
I agree. Most people would shame that behavior, and too much of it is not a good thing. But
Yeah.
I know Dad. I've known Dad my whole life. I'm almost 40. When he goes off on his creative tangents, they always lead to something cool or new, or something he didn't connect the dots to years before, but now he's ready to connect them because he had enough alone time to just let his mind wander. Sometimes it's good to do that. And that goes back to setting the boundary with self-shaming. Just so you know, Dad, like, not all the time that you wander is it a waste of time. It's, you come up with the coolest stuff when you're just like, oh my God, I randomly decided to do this, and it led me to this, and then I found out this.
Yeah.
And we're like, whoa, that would have never happened.
Yeah.
If you'd been, staying to the list.
Well, that's actually,
but
if you
that's not shaming the list either.
No,
it's like,
no.
Both are right.
Yeah, because sometimes your mind needs to wander to get to do that.
Well, what they found too is that almost all major new inventions were never planned. They were, like
Right.
the guy that came up with carbon, I forget what it was, but he was daydreaming, and he was smoking a pipe, and he watched the smoke rings connect, and out of that, the guy ended up winning the Nobel Prize on something. It's like, what? Or somebody walked past something, and they had what was it? It was a chocolate bar in their pocket, and it melted, and that was the beginning of the mic.
Oven.
The mic.
Well, and penicillin. I'm pretty sure
Just goes on
wasn't
on.
the intention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
you need time
setting
to
boundaries with yourself, your own shame that you do to yourself, is important for us.
Yeah. Why do you think? Let me ask this question. Why do you think we shame ourselves so much about our free time? I mean, our time to think. It's free. It says free time. It's not really free, but your thinking time.
Oh,
Why do we?
I think it's 100% our upbringing and the
Other
society,
people and peers.
whatever town we lived in, whatever they were doing is what we should be doing, or whatever our parents think we should be doing, or our teachers. I don't think it's something you're born with. I'm just gonna say it. I don't think Tarzan sits around and shames himself.
That's amazing.
For instance, twins. Arnold Schwarzenegger. He grows up on the island. He's free to study science and all this stuff, you know, and he comes over, no shame, just innocent and happy to be on the earth. He didn't know how to shame himself until he met his brother, Danny DeVito. And Danny's like, what the hell are you doing? You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. You gotta walk like this. You can't be too nice to the girls. You know, it's just all this trained behavior from the 80s, you know, Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I don't think I've seen that one, but it makes sense. I really like it. And I feel like people always creative people also feel kind of selfish about it too. Like if you take too much time to yourself to be creative, you're like, oh, but then I'm not hanging out with my family or my friends, and like I haven't called this person in 3 days, so like they're gonna feel like I don't care about them anymore, and I'm just lazing around and wasting all my time and blah 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 blah.
You know, a training film for this also could is that Mad Men. Remember in Mad Men, the guy that plays, you know, the handsome guy that, because you can't think of the people's names right now, but he would just sit and think, you know, and he wouldn't have an idea, and they always knew that the idea would come, but they would panic. It would be like, this is in the early episodes. If you go back and watch those early episodes, he would go into a meeting with and everybody was, you know, oh my God, we got nothing. And then he would sit in there, and the very process of him going in that meeting and all of that, you know, the adrenaline from it and everything, his brain just went on full on creativity, and he would come up with a solution, and it would always be so cool. And you know, of course, it's a movie, but if you watch some of these things, there's some really telling sitcoms where they've shown how creative people come up with these ideas. Now, what we talked about in our earlier podcast, Christin, was what the brain of somebody who's ADD and dyslexic, we say they're hunter. They got the hunter brain. They're starved for dopamine. Well, anything that creates movement or excitement, or, you know, like you're going into this big meeting, you know, and it's you know, you're going to be on stage, that's going to create this dopamine if you know how to channel it, you know. And so that's another part of the boundary thing. And he learned that idea, he had to have the confidence, and that's the other part of this, the self-confidence that he knows that unique ability will pop at the right time. He'll come up with it. And that
practice,
you know, skill and training, you know, confidence to do. But I love that example.
You also mentioned, in your example, what stood out to me was procrastination. I am a huge procrastinator, especially back in school. Like, oh, there's a big art piece due, or there's a big test I need to study for. Like, boring. I'm going to wait till the night before.
Why?
Because that's exciting, because then I challenge myself. And then, like, I impress everyone, especially myself, because I pulled it out of thin air at the last second. Because otherwise it's so boring.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my God.
Unless there's some practical
art due and you work on a different piece, well, you have an art piece due, but this one would be more fun because you're not supposed to be working on it right now. So it's like the forbidden piece.
Yes.
And what do all the
you an English paper due, and then you write a little short story instead of your paper, you know?
And all the success manuals tell you need to focus. Do one thing and do it well. Bullshit.
No. Sometimes I'll plan a like play date or a lunch with one of my friends, just so that I'll actually get what I need to get done, because I'll end up, you know, pushing it or rescheduling it or canceling it, but I'll wait until the last minute, and that hour before I'm supposed to meet that person, I am so productive. Like, I will get so much done. And then I'm like, damn it, I don't want to leave because I'm in the zone. So, like, I almost have to trick myself to generate that excess dopamine, that excitement, that rush, by setting up things I don't have time to do, really, but just telling myself, oh, you're gonna have to leave in a few to go meet what's her name for a sandwich.
But you have to be
It's
careful.
I don't want to go waste my life getting it.
How was before this meeting? Did you rush to get ready?
I can't even tell you what I
My
did.
hair
before
is
the
still
meeting.
wet under these.
Like I almost wore a wig.
Shower
Like I was trying on wigs. I was like, well, this is not going to work today. I mean, my hair is just insane. I have a pimple. I don't know what my.
Oh, don't worry. That's why in this far
Nobody
back, I
even
got one on my
knows.
chin too. You can't see it because of this light. It's beautiful. I look.
No, there's
flawless.
there's also a danger in procrastination. Sorry.
Yeah. No, ADHD. I feel
Oh, I
like
have to
100% procrastinators.
I need to randomly draw a tree. That's what I did before this meeting. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I have to finish this tree. It's really important.
Yeah. No, did you see my guy? He didn't. When I sent Larry that picture, he didn't have a shirt. He had a black coat, and now he has a shirt.
It's like,
Priority.
we were in the zone before we interrupted it. You know?
Yeah.
But in a
Larry,
good,
you
like,
planning
I'm happy to be here.
Well,
And now I'm excited.
Let's talk about
to finish my tree later. You know.
let's talk about procrastination too, because that's not the best strategy to do things, and you know why?
No, it's not.
I mean, it causes stress. You know,
Yeah.
you do this
And
a
then you rob
lifetime.
yourself of that extra time that could have made it really good.
Yeah.
I'm not a 100% procrastinator. Not now in my old age. I'm not. Plus, I don't have tests anymore, so I don't have to worry.
Well,
about
you have
cramming.
many tests, Christin. You're tested.
I have
Christin works
deadlines
in
set of
the.
tests.
What's your
God, world.
what would I say? You're in the
A
reality show.
Story producer for TV
And
shows.
the last one you did was the
Pack.
The Pack.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Great show. Puppies and their owners, or their best friends, we should say, travel the globe and do all these competitions together. It was beautiful. Lindsay Vaughn was the host, and she's great. It was great. And before that, it was Game of Clones. And before that, Naked and Afraid for like 6 years. So
I heard you do Naked and Afraid. Is that strange? Editing stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any
it's thousands of hours?
She produced a couple of
footage
too.
Unedited.
Wow.
Yeah, blurred. So hundreds and hundreds after like
not the
an
best
hour or so. You're
on that show too, so I can't imagine that was.
You guys are
fun.
I got to do the behind the scenes one.
Let me interrupt for a second. Let one person finish, because
Sorry.
3 ADD people here, and I'm listening to you talk over each other, you know, a little bit.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. No,
I'll just
I want to hear what everybody's saying.
I'll tell you one thing about Naked and Afraid and all those shows. Being a story producer is great for someone with ADD, because you got to find the story, and there's usually 6 different stories you can tell with one batch of footage. So it's finding those treasures, and you have deadlines, which creates the, motivation, the anxiety. You want to do a good job for the boss. You want the network to like it. Plus, you want to honor the people that you're storytelling about.
Yeah.
You don't want to make them look, like fools.
Especially reality TV. Those are like real people. You don't want to make anybody feel like you didn't represent them well.
There's a lot of shows that don't protect their cast in that way. So I like to be good.
The Bachelor.
The nice,
Not to call them out, but.
Mm-hmm. But it's good job. I mean, would I rather be writing music and drawing pictures all day? Sure, but
how did you get into that job? Like, how did you find yourself in? I don't know, just that position, or were you pursuing it actively, or? I
worked. I was actually working at Macy's in the menswear department in Santa Monica, back in the day, and then my mom needed help with her wedding videography company, Afterglow Video, and they filmed weddings, quinceañeras, funerals, all kinds of stuff. So I was like, sure, I'll go help you. So I left Macy's. I went and started working for them as a camera op and as an editor after all the events. So essentially it was like Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins, how he has all the instruments on his body. So it just did, we were like one man armies. You know, I'd go to one wedding, mom would go to another wedding. So I was doing that for about 5 years. And then our friend, dad's friend, Missy, was at a dinner party one night. She's like, you should come down to Glendale and, you know, we got a production company down there. Maybe we can find something for you. And I was like, okay. So I started driving every day.
I have to jump in and say, I told Hank and Missy that my daughter is like the most amazing, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yeah. And so and Missy's, she recognized talent. And this is Kristen's unique ability to do, what was your nickname, remember?
Tinkerbell.
Tinkerbell.
Oh my god.
I remember Tinkerbell was instrumental in that whole.
It was great in the beginning for an ADD person because I'm doing this, now I'm doing that, now I gotta go over here, now I gotta go over there. Oh, they need this over there.
We need an editor. We need a producer.
So it was good. Plus, it was a good workout. It was free exercise, especially if you're in the field on set, running around while bombs explode. And oh my gosh!
And these are kinds of job. This is kind of a job that we end up with. That what I call the hunter's perfect job. You know, she could have done a lot of different things, but you know, what I would call the farmer mentality, or the mentality of, you know, the physician, wouldn't fit in the job like that. You know, they'd be hypercritical and, you know, whatever.
Break down. I don't know where to go.
Right.
I saw a perfect example of why, you know, we always talk about, I'm going to just segue to hunter farmers, because I use that to describe kind of the dyslexic ADHD is the hunter, and then a farmer is like a normal person, and just different levels of degrees. Right now, if you watch the trial, George Floyd, and you watch this today, matter of fact, today they had this doctor that has an expertise in breathing. And I'm telling you, this guy knows, he could see on Floyd, he could watch the video and see the pulse of his ankle, of his arm. He could tell exactly when he died, everything. Well, that's a farmer trait. I mean, this guy knows. I mean, this is where you need somebody like this. When he got through explaining it, I now understand you got 8 seconds to live when your oxygen is cut off to the brain. I mean, he went through and just laid it all out perfectly. Well, that's not a hunter job. You know, to get to this, like they asked him, how many of these things have you seen in your life? He's like 1 million. You know, he wasn't exaggerating. He's been, you know, a doctor for 40 years, and he can just watch a video and tell you, he was giving percentages of the air that was not coming in. That's an amazing trait. So when I say farmer, and I don't mean it in I sometimes mean it derogatory when they make fun of the hunter, but we wouldn't have society without farmers. They're the linchpin. But then again, we wouldn't have entertainment and art and inventions and, you know, fighter pilots and special forces and Navy SEALs without hunters. There's got to be. But what happens is a lot of these people say that rise in the corporate power and political power usually will be farmers. Every once a hunter gets in. Donald Trump. There was a perfect example of a hunter in that.
Probably shouldn't mention him on stream.
I know we won't mention it anymore, but I'm just saying that his brain, total hunter, like so much so that, you know, it's scared. The world of farmers were all like, oh my God. Even the other hunters are going, my God. What, Christin, you look perplexed when I'm saying that. Just as an example. Whereas Biden is the consummate farmer. He talks very slowly. He doesn't say crazy things. He's going to bring things back there. He's going to, you know, and he's got the planning. So if you want to see example of the two extremes, they're political. We've been watching them on television.
Yeah.
So that I just wanted to use that as an example, and then also talk about that incredible doctor today on the news. I'm sure you will see it if you watch the news tonight or next few days. You'll hear
I
about
actually
him.
don't watch it.
He was totally amazing, and I'm sure that the verdict is going to be guilty after listening to him explain this. But back to those of us that have kind of the hunter brain, we call it, and boundaries. And I kind of lost a little bit where you can jump in here anytime because I've lost where I was going with this.
Oh.
It was to
We're all
show.
put on the spot. We don't know where to go.
Yeah, no, it's not. There's no spot. There's no, it's just there's so many things that we want to discuss and talk about, but we don't want to rush in and do every single thing because we want to talk about the importance of boundaries, and Christin was a perfect example of that. What about Rebecca? What about you? How do you see boundaries in because you're still going to school, right?
Yeah. And I'm going to school for nursing, and it's really hard to balance. Yeah, it's really hard with dyslexia, especially with anatomy, because so many of them are the same word and you have to spell them perfectly. I mean, I got off sometimes because they were like, oh, if it's close enough, but like they want you really, really close. So
Wait a
you better
minute.
just mix up 2 letters or you're donezo.
I've seen the way doctors write. I don't think that's true.
No, they bully you in school.
I'm
They're
just kidding.
yeah.
I have
I mean,
something
yeah.
for you.
My dad's a doctor.
I'm
You
just
can see his
kidding.
handwriting. It's like,
Yeah.
but it's kind of hard to set boundaries in my life, especially between school and art and my other relationships, because I'm not working on my dad or anything, but he's a very productive person. I think he's like the best parts of farmer and hunter brain, but he's a really, really hardworking individual. And so going into my life and going into doing things, I feel like if I'm not doing something, then I'm being lazy because I'm not working as hard as, that what I grew up with, look up to and stuff.
I mean, as
And
him as the example, him as the
yeah,
model.
because when you're growing up, you see like how hard your parents are working. You're like, wow, if I'm not like he leaves at 8 in the morning and comes back sometimes at like 8 o'clock at night. Like he works for like hours and hours and hours every day. And it's like, well, if I really want to do art, then I better do like school on the side. And I better do, if I'm going to have a week off from school, I better be doing art every single day from like 8 to like 9 o'clock at night, or I'm not trying hard enough. And it's like, I don't know. It's hard setting a
The
boundary for
internal
myself in my
voice starts.
mind where it's okay to let myself relax in between, because even though I really respect him and like that ideal, it's not exactly healthy to try to do that in my own life, especially because we're 2 different people and I obviously have different issues, so I can't work in that way.
He has about 12 people that assist him also.
Yeah.
It's not like he's doing it all on his own. He's operating and doing all kinds of stuff, but he's got it figured out. He's got all of his assistants.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to come back to something that you'd said because I could offer something maybe. You're talking about you have to learn all of these words. One of the things that hunters are visual. We're really visual people. Creative people are visual people.
Sure.
And I found if I want to learn how to, my spelling has gotten tremendously better, but I purposely visualize the word. Like I will picture the word and look at it in my mind, and then I could spell it. But if I try to sound it out, we were taught, when I went to school, to use, what's that called when you sound stuff out? What's the term?
Phonomics? I think I know what you're
Phonics.
talking about. I
Phonetic.
don't.
Phonetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Phonetics.
Spell phonetics. Trying to sound it out. Nobody. It's like, look,
Nobody can do it.
H.
Awful.
what I'm saying is use your, and what we want to try to do in all of these series is use your own abilities to help advance your careers or your school. So if you can visualize those words, write the words out and look at them, and then visualize them. I saw this great thing on a YouTube, and it was this like 4-year-old kid. It just was on today, as a matter of fact, that had it was on the news. He set the world's record for being able to cite the periodic table in like 1 minute and 60 seconds.
Oh my
He's 4
God.
years old. He's 4 years old.
4?
And he said he just sees it. He sees the work. This kid is out there, right? Is creative, So you can be dyslexic. That doesn't mean you can't spell. It just means you have, how would I say it? You have, I want to say, I don't know what I want to say in that. It would take too long.
I actually heard something on that. I think it's from the book you oh my God, recommended me, The
Yeah.
Dyslexic Advantage, where it said
Yeah.
something about people like us process things through the part of our brain that processes pictures instead of
Right.
like language
Right.
and like our full like memories and pictures. I think it's a really good way to remember it though, remembering it as a picture instead of trying to remember each individual like syllable. Also, kind of off topic, do you guys remember like if I say cinnamon, do you think of the taste cinnamon first before you think of the word, or do you think of it like do you think in tastes as well as pictures and stuff?
I don't, but
Because apparently yeah.
I've never thought about that.
yeah, cinnamon.
Which, as you were talking,
I
go
can
ahead.
smell it before I
Yeah.
can taste it. But
Oh,
that's
yeah.
part of taste too, I guess.
Yeah.
Huh?
Smells
But
you.
apparently other people don't, like when they think of I heard it somewhere, and I think it's a hunter brain thing because we also think in pictures. I think we think in taste and smell too and hear. Like if you say that's a loud sound, you'd think of a loud sound before you think of the word loud sound or whatever.
There are people that
Something
think
to
in
compare.
colors too.
Yeah.
The color would dominate. their
Yeah.
thought. So
Well, before I forget, with my ADD brain, if I may,
Mhm.
is that okay?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for you, you're up here in this left corner, by the way. That's why I keep looking up there.
Yeah. Actually, you guys too. If I look down, you guys are.
Oh,
It looks
okay.
like we're all talking in the right direction.
Thank goodness. Because
Except
since
for
you're an
Larry, I
artist,
think you're facing that way.
I think he's up or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Throwing me off.
For this list of vocabulary that you have to memorize, why don't you draw them, like paint them, and literally paint each one on its own thing,
that's
hang it up
great.
on your wall, and then every day you can look and admire the uniqueness of each word that you painted, and like you can add little things around the words, little special colors and whatnot. Hang it up and just make it beautiful, like art, with a tiny handwritten describer below it, like what it is, the boring part, but like
That's
make
not
the
a bad
word,
idea.
That's a great idea.
paint it.
Yeah.
I like that.
And
Because
hang
then
it
it's
up,
hands-on too. That's not bad.
colors, shapes, and
Because just
words.
remember it.
I don't know if you have
doesn't
scratch and
work.
sniff art, but
Scratch. Yes,
Really
that's
works.
amazing. It
People
smells
like-
just like the body part.
I'm sorry. For people like us to sit down and just memorize something, it's practically impossible. So that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Anything that you can put a twist on it.
Yeah. It was
put that in your tool belt.
Yeah.
Right?
Put that in your tool. By the way, I sent in that PowerPoint I've sent the slide that has the 250 non-visual words in the English language. and there are words like a and the, there. I still have trouble with there and there. I have to stop
Yeah.
and think. Means
Here and here.
over there.
Bear and bear. Oh
All of those
God.
things. Ugh.
2 and 2. Well, that one's yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
hard
non.
for some people
Any-
until
I
you
mean, it's 3 letters, but they're 3 really hard letters
There's-
to
Yeah.
remember.
Like I said,
then
there's
and
two,
then.
yeah,
Oh my God.
there's
I
hundreds
still
of
don't
them.
know.
And visual words are rare.
I can screen share your PowerPoint if you want me
Oh,
to.
sure, yeah. And you'll see those words. Yeah, that's a great idea. If you put that up, the where that became insightful for me was when I was a little kid. I would get stuck on words like and, a, just stupid little words, and then the teacher couldn't think. This is a picture of my teacher, but the 50s. If you drop down there, they didn't understand dyslexia or ADD at all. They expected me to learn the same way she did, and then keep going down. And that's me with the little cowboy shirt in the back. And if you
Wait,
notice,
this is the real photo?
that's a real
There
photo.
he is. Look, he looks like the
Oh,
happiest kid there.
I know.
Aw.
And do you know what's really funny that I discovered? You see all those boys? They're a couple of them are almost like 7 or 8 inches taller. That was the first grade. My mom started me. My birthday's July 20th. The cutoff for school is August 1st. I was basically 4 years old when I started. The kids
no.
beside me were already 5, going on 6. So I was behind when I started. Now that's just another little added thing.
I bet that didn't help your self-esteem at all.
Yeah.
No,
Like you're
no,
a year slower. A year is a lot at that time, isn't it? Don't
it's huge.
little kids learn?
And
Like,
there's the kids
Isn't
that
that
have
from the Swan or the
What?
Outliers or something?
What's that, Christin?
The Outliers or the Swan, the Black Swan, the guy who wrote that book about this very thing, about what year they
Well, that wasn't the Black Swan guy.
was that the basketball?
Outlier.
Well, yeah, it's the Outlier, but it's hold on.
We're a podcast. Nobody can see us except when I
Malcolm-
put it on YouTube.
Malcolm Gladwell. Gosh, I can't believe it.
Oh, I thought that
No,
this whole time I thought it was video.
no, a lot of people people talk about this stuff in ways that they can get published. They can't say hunter farmer because everybody would, oh my God, he's calling us farmers. No, but Malcolm
What's wrong with
Gladwell
being a farmer,
a
everybody?
lot
Come on.
about this. Keep going down, you'll see the handwriting. That's my
beautiful.
handwriting the other day. That's not like years ago. That's just my handwriting, which I can't even read. When I write something, I have to hurry and go back to edit it to figure out what the hell I said.
I love that it's half written and then half cursive. Mine's the same way. It's
I didn't
absolutely.
even know what that meant, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll put, sometimes I'll use letters that are capitals when when they should be small case words.
Oh
Okay,
my
you
God.
keep going down till you find,
That's cool.
well, I put that in because I said, I joined the Army and I moved to the head of the class. And what that meant was in the,
Yeah.
in the jungle,
Yeah.
I was like super
A
smart
plus.
because I had tons of adrenaline pumping in, like, wow, this is great. And some of the smart kids, they would get overloaded. Like we took out this one kid that was one of the smart guys that was in our company, super smart kid. And he freaked out. He panicked because he was overloaded with, being surrounded by enemy soldiers. Keep going down. The map reading. This map reading became super easy for me because it's real visual. I could see it. You can see the lines,
Yeah.
and that's a mountain right there in the front, and those are, those grid lines shows a mountain, and I never get lost when I've got a map.
Yeah. I think that is really a hunter brain thing too, because like so many people in my family, like they'll have to travel somewhere only once, and they'll just remember what direction they needed to go just from
Yeah,
like the
math
visual
block,
cues
man.
around them.
Yeah. And then I just wrote this down. If you're not super ADHD in combat, you're dead. In other words,
True that.
all of these traits, like that classify us as this is bad. Like if you're distracted, well, if you're distracted, that's not good in school. But if you're out in the jungle and a branch breaks and it's a lion coming at you from one side or the
Yeah.
enemy soldier,
You're gonna want to look over, you
you're gonna
know?
want to look over. So you got ADD is like perfect, and you find a lot of guys that are Navy SEALs and Army Rangers. I've found that guys that are in that kind of self-selecting type of units called elite units, they've all got the hunter brain. These guys are pure living on like dopamine, like
Yeah.
boom, jump out of a plane. They love it.
Extreme.
You gotta be. Or like you said, you'd be dead.
Yeah.
Dead.
And then you keep going down. I said, then after I came back, I became a stockbroker. I love that.
Is that you?
That's me.
Oh my god, you look so
Yeah.
different.
With the white glasses, and then a stockbroker. Now, both of those are hunter
With the
jobs.
camel.
Ski instructor, I didn't even know I just got in the back of the class and became a ski instructor. Stockbroker was perfect because, and these were just, the one shows I was number one, hold it right, moving it up and down. It doesn't
Sorry.
matter. It just shows that I was one of the top 20 brokers in the nation for E.F. Hutton. They like 6,000 brokers. And I said, and you meet really interesting people. I'd won something for that. But being a stockbroker was great because there was, it's like total adrenaline, like lots of excitement and every day, and blah, 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 blah. But keep going. I don't want to talk too much about me. Anyway, I developed houses. And the very first article, this is the first article that I wrote. And that, I literally,
Really?
I just made a cold call to the publisher of this magazine, and I listened. And he said, look, I really can't talk to you right now. My head writer had literally just quit. And I went like, really? And he goes, yeah. And I let him talk. And I said, I'll tell you what, why don't you let me write that article, and I'll have it to you. He said, well, we don't have very much time. We only have like 3 weeks. I said, I'll have it to you in 1 week. Normally it takes writers like months to put together all this stuff. So 1 week I got my friend Ken Miller, who could spell and type, and I called and interviewed the top economists in the country and literally came up with this, which basically said that the Dow Jones was going to break 5,000 by 1990. Exactly, that's what happened. And I wrote another one in
Wow.
1990 saying it was going to grow, on and on and on. So that's how my career started, with just an article on a cold call. And I was trying to talk to him about something else, but I stopped and I hyper focused. Now there's the other one of the traits. We'll get into these the next time, the different traits that ADD and HD have. And bang, I focused in on it. Go down to the next slide.
What? That's absolutely like, I don't know. That's an amazing coming
really
into the
is.
stories.
These are being.
I feel like that's not just ADHD too. That's like, I don't know. I to put yourself in that situation and to do that, that's like, what people should strive for, because
Well, thank you.
well,
It's like rockstar. You can perform
out of that
when it counts.
came books and everything. What, Kristen? You were going to say something?
I said you're kind of like a rock star because when you have a show to do, last minute show, you're filling in for someone else. You got to be ready, and you just made yourself ready. You gathered your team, and you just, I'll do it. I'll write that article for you.
Yeah.
You took that opportunity.
There.
Well,
Dad's pretty fearless too. Like it takes a lot to scare him, so it makes sense to me that he would be able to.
Yeah.
just
whatever they need, he can do. Swiss Army knife.
The worst weapon against me is criticism. I hate it, But
Self-criticism.
that all being said, these are kind of charts that we're going to put on our site, but this one's goal oriented. This is what everybody tells you you're supposed to be goal. You got to be goal oriented. Got to be goal oriented. Well, for those of us, what that sets up means it's got to be perfect, right? And if it's perfect, then you're going to compared to what? And
Yeah.
and so you set up like pass fail because it's not perfect, so you fail. So you must be dumb, and I need everybody's approval. I got to try to seek their approval, and then I get over here on this left side, and it goes. What I'm showing you is this shame trance, and what happens with the shame? Shame is just this evil stuff, and there's good shame and bad shame. There's normal shame that we grow up like, we put clothes on and stuff, and don't do that.
Yeah.
You should feel ashamed.
Don't
And
put
then there's the bad. There's the toxic shame, and that's when you've been criticized so much, or people say, oh, you're in special ed, or you can't spell, or you can't read, or whatever these things. That shame builds up, and what I've learned this from John Fox, it's called, like, you go into literally a trance, and anxiety can bring it on, and all of these things of being goal oriented can bring on, on a shame trance. Go down to the next slide. So what I've trained myself is to stay out of the goals and just work on focusing on the process, whatever the process is. So I anticipate when I'm going to do something that or if I'm going to meet with somebody or a group of people, that I anticipate I might go into a shame trance. Like one time I gave a talk at University of Chicago in their graduate department. I don't know anybody that's been to University of Chicago's graduate department. There's a room, and it's circular, this great big circular room, and then down at the bottom, there's a stage, and I'm going to speak. Well, while I'm waiting, I'm looking at all of these Nobel laureates. There's pictures of them and what they did all the way around this place. And I'm in the back room while the other speaker's talking. And I'm looking at 50 people that have won the Nobel Prize and how intelligent they are. And then I start thinking, and I'm going to talk to these people about credibility marketing. I should be. And I literally, when I went out and I was on the stage, I couldn't even talk for a second. I had created so much shame around comparing myself. That's back up at the top of the goal oriented. I was comparing myself to Nobel laureates. University of Chicago, they've got more Nobel laureates than anybody. I think even in Harvard, they've got tons of these people. Okay, when I stay on the process, this is really, I'm comparing myself to myself, or I'll look for the number of pages I'm going to write, or the number of drawings I'm going to make, or whatever it is. So that keeps me out of that trance. So that's why I put this on.
Yeah, I like that. I think we talked about this a little bit on the last podcast. I think this is a really good thing for everybody to think about, because I feel like it's too easy to get goal oriented and fall into the shame trance, because like the story you just told, how can you not feel that way when talking to people who are really accomplished,
Yeah. And then if you look up, go back up there, see where that purple line goes. This shame trance leads to addictive behaviors. So, I don't want to feel this. Remember, I was talking to you about why do people, do drugs or alcohol? They want to change the state that they're in. So if you're in a dumb state, which is this shame trance, and we can another time explain why that creates literally a dumb trance. You want to change the way you feel about yourself, bang. And Chris and I know about addictive behavior.
You do?
Yeah, you can jump in on that one.
Another thing you could do when people try and tell you to be goal oriented, you say, oh, well, that's perfect because I just want to be happy and be alive. Yeah. Mission accomplished. And then walk away. If they're trying to shame you.
Yeah.
Those farmers. Well,
Damn,
what, like
farmers, man, are always
In this
coming
case,
at
I'm
us.
shaming myself.
I drew my brother a portrait, and the first thing he says when he looks at it, because he's kind of, I love him, but he's kind of farmer brained. And the first thing he goes when he looks at it, he goes, "Did you mean to use that color? Because, you know, the shading on the reference picture looks like this. Are you sure?"
my God.
I was like, "Thank you,
He's like,
Devin.
you know
Thank
what?
you."
Draw yourself then, buddy.
Yeah. No, he's the only reason I got through my chemistry class, so I drew him a picture
Aw.
for his D&D character for free, but his comments that he
Aw.
made were so aggravating.
Rebecca,
Anyways, but
Rebecca, if you go to the last slide, I've got one that will show. Go to the very, very last
very
slide.
last one.
Rebecca, when you said this isn't video,
Go
is
back
it
up.
just
Not that last
audio?
one. Back up. Back up.
No,
Not this. One
wait,
more.
wait.
Oh, you just passed that right
Okay.
there. This
It's
I
old,
just found
kind
this
of picture.
today, but I found this woman. They dedicated a wing to her. She was awarded the first Pulitzer Prize for distinguished criticism in 1970. Now, only a farmer would think of that. Distinguished criticism?
She's the best criticizer I've ever
Yeah.
met.
I'll tell
You
you,
should hear the way I insult people.
when Louise wants to criticize you, even the New York Times stops dead cold in their tracks.
Oh my goodness.
It's so painful. It's
Yeah.
Now, I have to take a quick restroom break. Is that allowed?
yes. Well, we
Yeah.
should actually probably wrap up the stream.
We're gonna wrap
because
it up, Kristen.
You
We'll do
popped
the
up a
wrap up.
notification saying our free 40 minutes is up, but we're gonna give you another one as a gift. So
Okay.
I don't know how long it's been since then, but
let's
I'm
pick it up.
scared. I don't know how much time we have until Zoom decides I can't keep recording.
Okay, well, let's do another. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
And Kristen can go to the
Yeah.
bathroom.
Yeah, thank you for
Wait a
coming on our
minute.
stream.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What?
You guys, you can't end it like that.
No.
We're,
If it matters, I have to go to the bathroom too.
God.
if we're in a submarine, Kristen,
Well, we gotta go. Kristen's gotta go to the bathroom again.
I'll tell you what. We had a pretty good podcast till Kristen had to pee.
No, I drank this whole thing this entire time, so I gotta go too.
Me
But-
too.
Together, okay?
Kristen's screen is frozen.
I mean, can we do like a 15-minute break and see if we can end
Yeah.
it properly? Or
Okay.
Here, I can actually pause it. Here, wait. We're pausing in T-minus. Okay, yeah.
yes. Okay, we're back.
thank you
Bye,
guys
bye.
so much for having me on this show.
Thank
I know
you
we
for
have to cut
coming
it
on.
short.
You made it more exciting.
Let's do it
Basically
again.
Just Larry talking, and then I'm just sitting here awkwardly, like, yeah, I agree with that. That sounds good.
This is a lot of fun, and there's so much more we could talk for like a whole year about this topic alone.
Yeah.
So this is a good topic, Dad. Good call. Let's pick it up again.
We shall.
Yeah.
So we could end it right now. But
I like your
still wanna-
painting. Is that your painting, Dad? You painted that.
I painted that. Yes.
Yes.
Well, now I have to show a painting before we hang up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where's one of my paintings?
Here's
Oh,
my
I should get into painting.
Cha-ching.
Oh wow,
I'll just get a little one.
that looks really great behind that couch, actually.
It
Yeah.
does, right?
Cha-ching.
I'll just show you.
I wish my room was this fancy. Last time I talked, I told you I had bare walls. I put up like a poster right there.
There walls.
Oh my god!
So that's one of my star girls.
Oh, I like it.
I also do like happy suns. Just chilling.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Oh my god. Yeah, we
But
gotta
I
get
love
the
eyes.
art program on the computer.
tell
Get
you-
people to do so many things with it.
You guys draw a lot alike. A lot alike.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so good to know because I might need some help with this next
Same.
book.
Same.
And if you
Right.
can help me, I'll help you, girl.
Yeah.
Come on.
And I need help editing all of the videos that I've got, Kristen.
Yeah.
Hello.
I
Oh,
didn't want to ask, but I'm really bad at editing the stream. If you want to give me tips.
So
I'm great at editing streams.
we should end this and then talk.
Oh yeah, yeah. Instead of ramble
Oh,
off into.
Why don't you
All
end?
right, everybody. We have a Reddit now, Creatively Unworthy Reddit, where we'll be posting all the probably this what's it called P
PDF?
the PDF, yeah, or PowerPoint,
Hmm.
and all the other stuff that we talked about last time. I posted it there too.
Okay, perfect.
And all right.
We're done. We're off.
You're excused. Cause you're always late, overweight, and totally rude.